Let's talk about the 3 easiest ways to defeat your opponent during combat. I strike you just as the previous master said before, who holds back the blade in the bind by means of which he may be able to deceive. So the first play that we are going to discuss is one of the very first in the book that Fiore talks about. What we're going to be talking about is the exchange of points. So you here are my opponent. You have assumed a short guard. You're placing your point down here by your hip, and you're aiming your point somewhere around my face. This is a deceptive guard. You're going to be launching an attack, or you're going to be switching guards somewhere. So we're assuming that my opponent is taking that stance, which is probably the most common that you're going to be facing in fencing. I'm going to assume my guard of the woman back over here. I'm taking a deep stance. With a lot of these plays, you really need to be super bold. You need to not be afraid. Putting this here on my shoulder, your opponent takes that stance. Perhaps they just switched into their guard. My job is to cover their sword so they can't attack me. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, place my edge on your flat, and I'm going to knock it to the side. And then, if I'm really good, you can take that and engage that into a thrust. So again, seen from a better angle. You can see me here. I'm in my guard of the woman. I'm in kind of a canted-back stance. They've assumed their guard. I'm going to step offline, doing my triangle step that we talked about before. 1, 2. You can see now their point is offline for me. I can put my edge upon their flat, giving me a mechanical advantage, and then making a lunge, I can engage that against my opponent. This is a super common move that you'll see both in sparring as well as in the treatises, because it's super easy. It's probably one of the easier plays that we can do to offend an opponent who may not know what's going on. It's literally... And if you're really good and you're really quick, you can steal that mechanical advantage, and your opponent won't have any time to react. One thing that you do have to watch out for is you'll notice when I am knocking their point aside or even just stepping offline, your crossguard needs to be between you and their sword. If it is not, then they have the opportunity to thrust you at the same time, becoming victor and vanquished, as the book states. So again, I am having that pointed straight at my face. I'm coming in with my guard of the woman. I'm crossing blades. I want my edge on their flat. The sword will flex out of the way, and then I can take it into a high guard, such as posta di finestra, or I can stay in my short guard, like the manual says, and just launch that attack, maintaining that good angle against their sword, so if they push against me, it won't have any opportunity to push my sword out of the way before I can do any kind of attack. As you can see, when I'm making this attack from this angle, I'm crossing the blade, stepping out of the way, and then making that attack. If I'm really good, I can even displace their blade a little bit with my cross guard. If you have their blade on the outside of you, your blade coming in, they have to do something pretty dramatic to be able to make your blade go offline before it hits them. So for instance, if they push up against your blade, trying to get me out of the way, I can allow my sword to just kind of glance off the side, and I can smack my opponent before anything else happens. If they try and push away, that's another opportunity to do all kinds of crazy stuff. But basically, once you've made that first attack, you are now in control of the fight. We are pushing our opponent to react to what I'm doing, rather than just being reactionary towards my opponent. That way, we may engage in the dance of blades, and I, having the momentum, will more likely to hit them than they are backwards. This we see a lot in the German treatises, is choose how your opponent reacts, put them in a situation where they have to do something specific, and because you're one step ahead, you are able to engage their point, you're able to attack them before they can attack you, and long story short, you have the advantage. Now, something that's really cool about a lot of the plays in Fiore's book is they work with pretty much any weapon set. He'll advance through things like spears, poleaxes, even sword in one hand to accomplish the same issue. Fiore doesn't really use a buckler, but I'll go ahead and use it here just for demonstration purposes. Sword is online, pointed at my face. I'm going to engage with the edge of my blade, and if I have a buckler, same thing. Buckler stays on, and I can use that to engage and attack my opponent.
This play is called the peasant strike and is made in this way. Wait in a short stance with the left foot forward for the peasant to strike with his sword. Immediately the peasant strikes, advance the left foot to the left side, and with the right foot traverse off the line, taking the blow in the middle of your sword. Allow the sword to slide to the ground and immediately respond with a blow to the head or arms, or with a thrust to the chest as drawn. Also, this play is good with the sword against the poleaxe or against any heavy or light staff.
Now let's say we're fighting an opponent who doesn't really know what they're doing with their sword. This is what Fiore calls the peasant strike. It's the first opportunity that somebody will likely take if they've never held a sword in their hands before, and you can test me on this if you want. Just go ahead and hand a sword to pretty much anyone who's never picked it up and say, hey, go hit something. Pretty much every single one of them are going to grab it really stiff, and they're going to charge at you like this, trying to get up into your face, and then do a really powerful overhead strike, trying to get into you, strike it really hard, do what the movies say, ah! That is the attack that most often we'll be defending from. This is known as the villain or the peasant strike. Coming down really heavy, really hard, grab at the top, with maybe some bad footwork and not a whole ton of form. So how do we defend against what we colloquially refer to as a buffalo in fencing? So you, my opponent, are the buffalo. You are charging at me. I'm going to be nice and steady in my guard. You are charging at me. You are intent on hitting me right here. So if I wasn't to do anything, you could see, chop right there. I'm probably dead. It's going to be a powerful cut. It's not going to look very good. Especially if, I say I'm practicing sword fighting, but I never actually get to the point where I defend myself. So you're charging in at me. I'm going to simulate that by walking forward. Sword is going to drop in a very heavy cut right here in my upper opening, my head. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put my sword in the way of that sword. Just like that, and I'm taking it off my flat. Now, why are we taking it off our flat? I'll go ahead and show you. So, put pressure down. You can see that as pressure goes down on my blade, you'll see that it'll glance off. As it glances off, I can step offline and make that attack. So showing you again, if I am being charged at with the sword, I'm going to go ahead and place my sword in the way of that. We're going to let it glance off the flat of my blade, going all the way down, and then I'm going to take that force and apply that, cutting into you at a very powerful force, and then dropping down to make sure I don't get hit on the return swing. So I'll show you that motion from a different angle. So let's say again, coming down very heavy on here, coming down very strong right here to my upper opening. I'm going to take this sword, whatever guard that I'm in. Let's say I'm in a short guard just for ease. They're going to be cutting down at me. I'm going to take my sword, place it underneath their sword. Sword is going to come down. It's going to glance off of the flat of my blade. As that comes down off the flat, I keep my hand steady. That goes way over there. I'm going to cut down at whatever angle is most convenient into my opponent, and then I will cover that guard. And if you do a really good job, it'll look great in a tournament, and you can also throw your cloak over their body. Now, you as a civilized gentleman would never feign to use something like a spear, but especially in the late Renaissance, pretty much all you're going to be fighting is lots of troops armed with very long spears. This one is what's called a partisan, and this is the one from Purple Heart Armory, so it's very contemporary with what we'd expect you to need to use. If for whatever reason you were transported back in time and needed to defend yourself with a longsword against a spear, a poleaxe, or light staff. So, again, I am going to be out of range. We know that the spear has a ton of range. That's the one thing we're going to be dealing with. So, instead of them putting their point online, trying to keep me at bay, we're going to be worrying about them making a big, long cut at me. Let's say they see an opening, or I give them impetus to find an opening. They're cutting down at me. Again, I'm going to put my sword in the way. Whoop. Right here is going to glance off the flat of my blade. I want to make sure that flat is good and heavy, because they have a lot more leverage than I do. And that sword is going to go way down here as that glances off and goes to the ground. Now, something we have to be aware of is that can move a lot faster because it's at the end of a little lever. So I need to cut in probably to their hands on the polearm, cutting into their hands and then pushing it down to make sure that they can't make another attack. At that point, if I have taken the hands, we know that they are no longer in the fight. So
the enemy cannot push a button if you disable his hand.
We know that they are no longer in the fight, so I can really do whatever I want. Pommel cut. So with the sword and buckler, we know that most of Fiore's plays can be played with just the sword. Putting the buckler into it helps to keep your hands a little bit more safe and allows you to separate off a parrying device or cutting device. This one, I would say, works even better with sword and buckler. So again, if my opponent is cutting at me, they see an opening, or I give them an opening. This comes down, I'm going to take it off the flat of my blade. Now, if you're familiar with sword and buckler, you'll know that this right here is a guard that people should be familiar with. They cut down, this goes all the way down. I'm going to separate off Once it reaches towards a safe spot, I'm going to take my buckler and I'm going to push that out of the way as fast as possible. Now this doesn't come around as fast to cut, but you can see that because it was in front of my buckler, I can pull that sword back and use that to do a false edge cut to my opponent there, or I can take that and just slide into their hands, or I can take it and push, because I have so much better close range support with sword and buckler than with the spear. I can push into their head and really do anything at that point, pommel, cut, punch with the buckler. I can do all kinds of things that they can't really react to because I'm so much closer. So yes, the spear is the queen of weapons, but once you get past that point, it is so much easier to have something like this, which is why in the Renaissance period, you'll see a lot of the frontline troops have literally just a rotella, a bigger version of a buckler, or a sword. Just go in really close and just wreck your opponent. So we've spoken a lot about these two of the most common plays that you'll interact with in fencing. I'd recommend getting yourself a stand, kind of like I've got over there, to practice these cuts. Grabbing a sparring partner probably works the best for you. Practice these, do it a whole ton, work with that in the previous videos that we've done, and that'll give you a pretty solid foundation of where to start. Next week, we're going to be moving into some more simple plays that we're going to be interacting with to help give you an advantage over those opponents. Today, we are focusing primarily on opponents that don't necessarily know what they're doing, but we will be doing a lot more against opponents that might know what they're doing and work towards a couple of different intentions, not just move into combat and hit them, but somebody who might know a little bit about how to parry, a little bit how to block. So look forward to that next week. Also watch for more sword reviews coming soon. We've got a big haul from Combat Con that we've got to get through, but I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Please make sure to like and subscribe and help the channel grow. We're almost to 900 subscribers now. Once we get to 1,000, hey, more swords for us. We'll see you next time. Really, you just kind of need a cloak, and it's just kind of like makes you feel very good, very powerful, especially if you're using like a rapier and you have that out there, and then all of a sudden you just take it. You basically won the fight at that point. I mean, who could have fight you after that cool cloak swivel thing?